Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Political Job Interview, where I interview candidates running for election. I'm Vincenzo Calla, the host, and today I take on the role as the boss, giving a job interview to today's candidate, Erin Coffin. Erin is running for election for Ottawa City Council as a candidate for Ward 23, Kanata South. Thanks, Erin, for your time, and thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for asking me to come see you. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you, and without further ado, let's get this job interview started. So as with any good job interview, I'm going to start off with an opportunity to learn more about Erin. So the first question, Erin, is can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your story?
Well, I'm Erin Coffin. I am a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a daughter. I'm a community member. Probably most predominantly, I've been a public servant for the last 22, maybe a little longer years. And right now I'm a senior advisor at Health Canada, but I'm on leave right now while I go down this adventure. And, I've been able to work on a lot of different files that have touched Canadians and people in my community over the years. And I just want to get involved. Plus, also, my family, I've been very privileged to grow up in a home with parents who've been very dedicated to the community. My father is an Anglican bishop and has always been very much about human rights and the community and taking care of people when they're in crisis and making sure that people's voices who aren't normally heard are heard. And that's really kind of been the upbringing. And as a child, I probably didn't appreciate it as much as I do today, but it really has defined who I am and helps me listen and hear and really consider lots of views and get in there and also jump in and help people. So I think that's it. I'm really a doer. I have big ideas and I'm into being innovative and creating change and improving things. And if I see something that's wrong, I like to jump in and fix it. I've been accused of being a bit of a paratrooper where if somebody needs to solve something, I will jump in feet first and look at a way to fix it. And it may seem impulsive, but I think too much a lot of the time, and I like to really understand something before I do something, but I will get in there and get my feet on the ground and make those changes and bring people together. So that's really kind of who I am. I think I guess that's really who I am.
So now that we know who you are, why have you decided to run for this position? What brought you here?
That's an excellent question. I don't think I ever had this on my radar. Like I said, I've always been community oriented and I've been working obviously in the public service and dedicated as a public servant, whether it is as a public servant working for the feds or being a public servant as in working for my community. What I've been looking at, I really understand, and it's a good question because I feel like when I think about running for a position, it's very different applying for a job as opposed to running for a job on council. There's a process. Everybody should be involved. And I think right now, people are not as involved in the process as they should be or could be, and it's not going really well. So my hope is to really work on making an opportunity to get people involved, people interested, people engaged. As municipal politics are usually the last ones on anybody's radar, and yet everything that happens in, Ottawa and in our city touches us. When we flush the toilet, when we put out our garbage, when we turn on our water, when we use our roads, our sidewalks, our bicycle paths, we go to our parks, we use our recreation centers, everything touches everything we do. And I don't think people really think about that because it's just, we take it for granted. But what I'd really like to do is really empower and work at getting people more involved in our community and getting involved. And I mean, everybody who can vote has one vote, and so they have a say. So if I can get out there and encourage them to, take their vote and use it. And I mean, it would be wonderful if they chose me and trust me with their vote. And I will be accountable and available and I will be in the community. But I think it's really that part where I want to really get in there and take all that experience I've learned as a federal employee, doing the research, the policy, the consultation, the stakeholder engagement, and then making really good, informed, educated recommendations. But now I would get to sit at the table and help get those ideas into, really into action. after all that listening and all that consultation and all that getting people to be heard and listen to them. And that's kind of why I'm at it now, is that I just feel like it's time for a change. And that's really what I want to do, is get people excited about this election and get that change going, and then be at the table and get some really good things decided upon, and getting things going.
Let's take a bit of time now to talk about the job and really what you bring to it. So, the first question is, what experience do you bring to this job?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I have been working in the public service for a long time. I've worked on policy and programming on multiple files, big infrastructure projects, public transit, clean water, wastewater, counterterrorism, policing, heritage, public health. I even like helped do Canada 150. I helped create the policies and all the different thematic ideas that we wanted to celebrate and think about as a country, and then put that into actual programming and choosing folks to actually do that programming and asking them what they want to do it well. And that can be really in any of those contexts. It's sort of like, you want to build something for your city, you want to put on an event for your community, you want to keep your community safe, or in some cases your transit, and improve your transit or improve your roads. um, Getting them to tell us what they want. And so really taking that experience and all that information after all those years, and looking at all the different steps required to make that good decision, and then take that and apply it here as a counselor. But also, I like to think I'm quite an innovative person. When somebody tells me that's challenging or that's too hard or whatever, I'm usually like, let's try it anyway. Like, let's find a way. It's not going to be perfect, but if we can find solutions that will improve people's lives, improve a situation, I really want to bring that to the table. It's also really important to me because I feel like people, when I talk to them, have not been feeling heard, or not feeling that they're valued. And what I really want to do is make sure that both my community, whether it's Kanata South, who I would represent and be the voice of and be the voice for, listen to all those community voices and represent them, but also like talk to people around the table, really work on bringing people together and getting things done, and just finding a way to get along. It's been very challenging the last couple of years, where it's been a lot of disagreements and fighting and dismissive behaviors, and it's been challenging. And I think that we can do a lot better, and that's something I really want to work on, is bring people together and really kind of get things done rather than worry about personalities. I mean, I can be a pain in the butt, I'm sure, but I really come at it as somebody who really values the community and wants to do best for the community, and wants to just get things done so people have a better life. So there's definitely that. And then also, in my home life, having been brought up as a Anglican priest kid, it's always been about the community, then the country at large, and then the world at large, and really thinking about what's going on in the world, and how does this affect this, and think about this. So and then also, who's not being heard, and who's being left behind, who needs to not be left behind, and what can we do to do better. I know people are always afraid that these big blue sky ideas, and we're going to do everything for everybody. It's very terrifying because, oh my God, that means bigger taxes. And, I pay taxes too. I own property. I work full time. I have a family. I know that that's terrifying. But I really want to look at ways that we can maybe, rejig, juggle, prioritize, maybe try some more proactive, not necessarily reactive, things like that. And I'm not coming at it as like, I think anything is possible. I know there are challenges. I know I've seen politicians promise, the moon, and then walk in the door, and we have to explain to them why we can't get to the moon. And, what can we do, and how can we help them achieve what they want to achieve? But, that can be very hard pill to swallow. So it's very much where, when I knock on the door, I say, like, I will do my best for you. I will try really hard. And I will come at it with my, passion, skills, experience, all that, as well as being driven by what my community needs, and really kind of come at it like that. So that's really what's important to me.
Well, definitely, and you mentioned how there's lots of ideas, and And I'm sure we'll continue talking about the ideas later. But right now is a perfect opportunity for new ideas. A big part of the council is going to be new. There are going to be a lot of new candidates and a lot of new councillors. Sorry, there's lots of candidates running to become the new councillors.
Yeah.
But it's a time for different thoughts, different ideas, and for new ideas. So, but I'm sure we'll continue talking about that later. But until then, let's go into the next question, which is what sets you apart from the other candidates in your ward?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh dear, that's harder than I would think. I thought I had a good answer for you because I've been thinking about this for a long time. I think I kind of go back to what I said earlier, which is it's not about me. Um, it's not about me being an incumbent, me being award winning, me being a certain political idealist. It's really about me making sure that I can go into the community, hear what's needed, and work really hard to find those solutions. And I think that's for me much more important. I don't care about recognition. I care about getting things done and people not being left behind and people being heard. I really believe the heart of the community is our community. It is our seniors. It is our business people. It is our youth. It is our children. It's our frontline workers, our teachers, our city workers, our bus drivers. It's everybody. And so really trying hard to take that all into consideration and do the best that we can and make the best decisions for everybody. And I know that is not an easy feat, but darn it, I'm going to do my best to do that. But it's very much about seeing what I can do for the community. It's not about what I want to achieve. This is really this is where I'd like to enter politics and stay in politics. I don't have any other aspirations. I like the idea of city politics because I just really want to be there for people and hear them and empower them and make them feel like they're being heard and listened to, and also genuinely having them being heard and listened to, because if people aren't heard or listened to and they feel ignored, they get angry, and then bad decisions happen, or people are desperate or in crisis. So if they feel that somebody's trying for them, that's really important, and I really want to help our community do that for everybody in our community. So it really is working at bringing people together and making our community proud and inclusive, and hearing one another. So I think it's really what I think sets me apart is, again, it's not about me. It's about what can I do for the community, because the community needs somebody to be their voice and work hard for them and hear them and be there for them and be accountable to them and fully communicating and being transparent in that process.
Part of serving as an elected official is serving those people who elect you. So a few questions about how you want to serve the people. So the first one is, what is something that people that you would like to serve need that you want to get done if you're elected?
I think that some of the people that I've been talking to is really talking about the quality of life, that they feel like they pay their taxes, they've lived here for a long time, they've perhaps left, grown up here, left, come back to raise their families, are going into their senior years to be closer to their younger families and grandchildren and great grandchildren. And I think the big thing is a lot of them are feeling, again, left behind, ignored, not valued. They don't necessarily feel safe. We need safe roads. We need good transit. We need access to amenities. We need to make sure that, whatever decisions we're making about the infrastructure that we are building, are considering our future and what it will do to our future, but also thinking about, are we maintaining it the best we can? Because when we invest a lot of that money, we want to make sure that that is taken care of. And I think for a lot of people I'm knocking on doors and talking to, they're really saying that a lot of this stuff for them, their quality of life is affected by the fact that the city isn't maintained to a quality they think it should be. And they just don't feel like they're seen whether it's, police officers driving through the neighborhood, making them feel safe, making sure that people are driving safely, and traffic calming measures so their children, they don't have to worry about them walking down the road, whether it's going to the park, going to school. Really, feeling like they can go out and things are properly lit, that, parks are properly maintained, that there's places for them to seek refuge if it's too hot. As you know, it's been really hot. And finding ways to do that through our city's infrastructure and services. So really looking at what could I do to do that for folks in Kanata South and also Ottawa as a whole. So I think that's really what I'd like to do, is improve the quality of life, really build upon the pride that we want to have in our city.
So finally, I wanted to ask you, what is one accomplishment that you have achieved that demonstrates why you would be a good elected official if the people choose you?
Oh, there's so many accomplishments I've had. No, I'm just teasing you. Because say surviving motherhood could be one, but you know what? I'm still in it, so that's not perhaps a good measurable yet. But I guess I think about when people are thinking about whether they want to choose me or somebody else. I mean, I think they need to know about me. First of all, is that I'm really inspired by people, and I think I've mentioned that earlier. That my family, my coworkers, my neighbors, the youth I meet, the seniors I meet, the folks that are passionate about their community. They're very inspiring to me. The folks that have been in Pride and celebrating Pride this past week, being so proud of who they are and fighting the hate. And I think that, and then we have our communities that are new Canadians or folks that have come to Canada and chosen to be Canadians and chosen Ottawa as their home, to really focus on, celebrating them and whatnot. But besides that, I think perhaps as an example of way, and I'm hoping we're okay for time, I'll give an example of getting things done. So in 2015, I joined the FAMSAC food cupboard. They were in crisis. They had just experienced the flood. They didn't have a location. They didn't know what to do. They were very much terrified because the way of life that they had for over 40 years had kind of changed, and they needed to also serve people. So instead of panicking, I kind of came in and said, okay, let's go find a storefront. Let's go find a location we can go sit in a little while and figure out how we do things. Do we need to change things? What can we do? Which is also very hard, because when you have folks that have been doing something for a long time, they don't like change. It works well, don't change it. Even if it doesn't work as well as everybody thinks it does. So looking at what can we do differently? Let's talk to other examples. What are they doing? What can we do? What could we bring that would improve the lives of our clients and the families that we serve? And so we decided that we wanted to add more fresh food and better food and work on a children's lunch program. We were inspired by the Parkdale food cupboard. We were inspired by the table out in Perth. We were inspired by lots of other food cupboards. But at the same time, a big problem there was money. And we also realized nobody knew we were there. They didn't know who we were. We had been serving for over 40 years and nobody knew. So we knocked on doors, and I talked to politicians and community leaders, and we told of the story about the FAMSAC food cupboard and how many people we're serving and what are we seeing and how is the change coming and what do we want to do better. And people got really excited about who we were and what we were doing and how they could be part of it and support the community. And so we went from a situation where we were not providing very good food, but adequate food to survive, for emergencies, but we went to much better food. So, each child was getting what they needed for 5 days of school lunches, including, fresh apples or some sort of fruit, granola bars, sandwich makings, all that. Families went from getting no fresh vegetables to getting, carrots and cucumbers, some vegetable of their choice. People love broccoli, other people do not. Giving them that choice, letting them shop and be empowered when they're in a very vulnerable state, choosing their meat if they want meat, if they want halal, if they don't, want to make sure they don't have something with pork in it. They want to make sure that these have natural ingredients. We tried really hard to do what we could, as well as getting the community more on board to help us finance and support and make sure that our families get what they needed. And so we've gone from, a little food cupboard that could to being a great storefront, still a little food cupboard that can, but to a storefront where people can walk in, choose their food, make sure they give healthy, good food, and making sure the community has been able to step up and support us financially, volunteering, whatever, to make sure that we can pay all of those bills and be financially stable. So, and also at the same time, those folks who weren't really excited about change got on board and got excited about the change, and then started making recommendations about the change, and really felt like they were part of this change. And for me, that's something I'm really proud of, because it's not about me. It's about the fact that I helped all my fellow volunteers do the best that they wanted to do for our clients and for the families we served. And they are really proud of it. And we, as an organization of 100% volunteers, are really proud of what we've achieved and still have a drive to keep on doing that. We would love to not be needed. That would be a fantastic situation to not, be unemployed as volunteers, because people have food security. But at the same time, we will be there if they call, and we are going to do our best, and we're really excited about where we're going. So if I can take that energy and take that change and work on that, rallying up good inspiration and drive and vision and passion, and get that driven into what we're doing at the city. And there's lots of passion out there. If we can harness it and get it into doing amazing things for people that people are really proud of, I would love to take that experience and that skill that I use there to get everybody on board, and get everybody involved, and get everybody empowered. So that's really what I'd like to do. Do I think that I'm going to be able to do all of it? Probably not. I know there's going to be some hiccups and whatnot, but that's what I would like to do. And I really want to bring people to the table and bring people to be heard, and find ways to make sure they are all part of this change. I think it's a really wonderful time.
Thank you, Erin, so much for joining me today. It was
Thanks.
fantastic having you. I'm sure the viewers have enjoyed hearing what you have to offer to them.
Oh,
Election Day is October 24th, 2022. And if you liked hearing what Erin Coffin had to say and live in Ward 23, Kanata South, you have the opportunity to vote for her on Election Day. Check with the local election officials for more details. To stay updated, make sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at BC Productions 25. Check out my website, VincenzoCal.com, and make sure to like, subscribe, and choose to get notifications here on YouTube. The Political Job Interview is a VCalla production, so until the next video, I'm Vincenzo Calla, signing out.